Sorry, I took Bill's time. Sorry, thank you.
It's all good. Took John Yu's time. Here he is. How do you feel about that, John? Former Deputy Assistant AG.
Terrible.
Law professor at Berkeley. We'll cheer you up here. So, simply put, Louisiana took two cracks at this. One favored African Americans, one favored whites, and the Supreme Court's going to decide this. Here is Brett Kavanaugh talking about how you remedy this. Go ahead and listen here.
This court's cases in a variety of contexts have said that race-based remedies are permissible for a period of time, sometimes for a long period of time, decades in some cases, but that they should not be indefinite and should have an endpoint.
The point he's making there, and you heard David Spunt say 60 years, 1965. So he's arguing that there was a sunset period possibly that was built into this law. How do you read that? Do you think he's right?
I think he is right. I think you can see that this view is motivating the 6 conservative justices on the court. Here's the basic issue. The Constitution bans the government from ever using race. It wants all of us to treat each other the same, regardless of our skin color, race, national origin, religion, and so on. We allow deviations from that core principle to just make up for past sins, for the government's use of race and segregation in the South for so many years, or for slavery before that. And what Justice Kavanaugh is asking is, when does that end? It's 60 years later now, since the Voting Rights Act of 1965. It's been 60 years since the government has forced states to try to use race to create these what are called majority-minority districts, to increase the number of minorities who actually get elected to Congress. But that's got to come to an end. It's not going to be, and it shouldn't be under the Constitution, ever permanent. And the court's been making that clear in other areas, like the Harvard case, where it said no more use of race in college admissions. I think that campaign for a colorblind constitution will continue here, and the court will say no more use of race when states draw congressional districts either.
Okay, let me come back to that. A New York Times, a Supreme Court case that could hand the House to Republicans. There are some who believe if the court rules as you're describing there, John, that the GOP could gain 19 more House seats. Do you see that as reasonable?
It's possible. I am sure the justices, when they decide this case, don't care and won't look at what the effects on the midterm maps may be. Now, what's been going on, note, is that these states, in order to create these majority-minority districts, have done what's called crack and pack. They've packed minority voters into tight districts on the assumption they'll vote for a black or Hispanic or even Asian candidate, which I think, by the way, is offensive because it assumes that people of one race will vote for people of the same race when they vote for office. What will happen, I think, if this practice ends is that there will be more minorities spread out into more districts. That might make more districts competitive in the long run between Republicans and Democrats, even though in the short run, it might lead to less Democrats in the House in the next election.
What if I argued the other side and said, if I'm a minority, how do I find representation under that interpretation of the law then?
Well, this, I think, is the pernicious view of the Voting Rights Act and the 15th Amendment that this cause has adopted, is the idea that because I have a skin color or you have a skin color, Bill, you think you're only represented by people who look like you. What if you want to be represented by people who share your interests instead? Suppose I want to vote for someone who has my view on tax policy or foreign affairs or Israel. Why does race and skin color have anything to do with your view or my view on policy issues? And I think that's what the court wants to end. The court wants to end the practice of the government assuming that you and I have certain views and think a certain way just because of our skin color.
Quickly, John, would they give a sooner? You heard the question that Dana gave to David Spunt. Is this like, do you have to wait until June? Is that too late? What's your view quickly on that?
Quickly, I'm not yielding any of my time to Spunt, but what these state legislatures could do is just pass a new map and say the new map comes into effect if the Supreme Court strikes down the Louisiana voting map, and otherwise leave the districts as they are.
Okay, in that case, they'd have to get ahead of it. We'll see how that goes. John, thank you, sir, very much. Putting it in English, there he is, John Yoo. Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.